This episode of Hack 5 is brought to you by Domain.com.
Hello and welcome to Hack 5.
Konnichiwa, o genki desu ka?
Wait, what?
Sorry, is that the wrong thing to say?
I don't remember.
That means hello, how are you?
How do we start the show? I'm actually full of energy right now.
Hey, and welcome to this episode of Hack 5. My name is Shannon Morse.
Oh, that's how we do it. My name is Darren Kitchen. It's your weekly dose of Technolos. It's another caffeinated adventure in Technotown.
That's right, it is. And I really like what you have done with your computer over here.
Oh, thank
but
you.
This is not the same computer that you usually use.
No, well, actually.
Is it?
Yeah, this is my Windows box. And I'm using it because Zen Center only works for Windows. We'll get to that. There's some fun HTML5 alternatives that would be cross-platform. But for today's segment, we're going to actually skip the virtualization part and come back to that a little later. As you guys know, that we're building out the network here at the Hack 5 warehouse. And one of the first fun things that I want to implement is a little bit of WebRTC Jitsi foo that's going to allow us all to video conference similar to Hangouts. But more on that in a bit. Because first and foremost, Shannon, are you a My Little Pony?
I'm My Little Pony.
What's going on here? Like, when did that happen?
This weekend. It was awesome. I was just
is that what happens when you go to the cherry blossom? You ate too many grapes at the Cherry Blossom Festival.
Yeah, I decided I wanted to fit in whenever I cosplay and whenever I go to Japan and stuff like that. So I just decided to dye my hair purple.
Are you going to Comic-Con this year?
No, but I am going to Dragon Con.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to cosplay at Dragon Con. Actually,
Good
my costume
stuff.
is purple.
I feel like the set is finally coming together.
It is.
Little by little.
This is so cool. So I have I have a sticker wall. So if anybody has stickers from like your hackerspace or whatever, send them our way.
Yep.
We can put them up here.
There you go.
I think this one's my favorite.
Anyway, 548 Market Street, number 39371, San Francisco, California, 94104.
Yatta!
And send us your stickers.
Hey, can I show you something really cool that I was reading about? And I thought it was kind of, but not about InfoSec, but not really.
Okay.
So this is my new bike. I got it in the mail this weekend. Yay! So I was riding it around, and I asked on Twitter for recommendations about different bike locks and helmets that you can get. So thank you for your recommendation, although I need to figure out my size. But a lot of people linked me to this really interesting blog over at the Sweet Home, and it's all about bike locks. And these people actually interviewed different thieves who work, and they actually like run around stealing bikes all day, about what kind of bike locks kind of keep them away and what kind of bike locks actually keep them, going for the bikes. So they have pictures of this guy, like it's a faceless dude, but he's testing out all these different locks. So I was like, oh, it's like penetration testing for bike locks.
I love that. No, I mean, that's the thing, is you need to find out how secure it is by banging on it, right?
Really interesting. He took a pipe to this lock in this picture, and he twisted it around until it broke. A freaking pipe.
That's cool.
I've
also seen some really rad ones where you basically take a like a Coke can and you can create a shim to get a lot of kryptonite locks.
Whoa.
You can search YouTube for those. They're all over.
Crazy. Yeah, so if anybody has a recommendation for a good bike lock, let me know. Because I'm going to start riding my bike to work.
Hey, you know where you could ride your bike?
Where?
Right here. This place is epic. I
Where's that?
found the Lost Coast. That right there is Shelter Cove. It is in this beautiful place where California has this epic, very famous highway called the Pacific Coast Highway, or the PCH, or it's Highway 1 here in California. And it goes all the way up from essentially Los Angeles to Eureka, and you can take it to Portland, right? So it's a really epic highway.
It's beautiful.
It cuts inland north of Fort Bragg / Glass Beach, and then it rejoins the coast at Eureka. It does that for a reason. That is because there's some really treacherous mountains that are just epic. And so because of this, the population in that county of, I think it's Humboldt County. In southern Humboldt County, like the population density is like nil. It is just untouched, beautiful California coastline wilderness, good stuff.
That's so cool.
And there's a tiny community of like 800 people living in this, like, they're all like fishermen and surfers and retirees, and they've got a freaking sweet airstrip, which is where I accidentally almost got hit by an airplane. So, I mean, it's good stuff.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Were you standing in front of like the tarmac?
Yeah, but there's a baseball field right in front, and there's an 18-hole golf course. And anyway, I just discovered the most epic beauty, and we'll be talking about that a little bit later because wilderness.
Okay.
Wilderness.
So what else is going on?
I've been tracking pineapples.
Tracking pineapples. That's
Wiggle.
like actual fruit pineapples?
Wiggle.net, if you haven't been to it, check this out.
Wiggle.
They just got a facelift, and Wiggle is really beautiful.
What in the world?
It's basically, if you're into war driving, you know, when you scan for wireless networks, they have a collection of, 188 million wireless networks now? This is crazy. This is the kind of stuff that Skyhook or other commercial services, Google has their own, basically combine the geolocations of people's Wi-Fi access points to aid with navigation. So you know when you turn on your phone and you're doing like the navigation stuff and it wants you to turn on Wi-Fi because it can get your position better. What it's doing is using as many sensor inputs as it can, primarily the GPS overhead, but also by using the uniqueness of networks around you, since everybody with an Android phone is most likely anonymously sending those statistics back to Google saying, hey, here's all the access points I'm seeing in the Google Street View car. And then there's commercial services like Skyhook I mentioned that do this. Wiggle is like the open source alternative. And basically, if you are a war driver, this is where you can dump your log files and say, hey, check it out, I was rocking some Kismet, I got my GPS going, and I found all these access points, and now it's plotted beautifully on this Google map. And I mean, it always has been, but they've really done a great job of cataloging this stuff. And one of the things that I was having fun with was I realized, hey, we could do a search based on OUI, and since the Wi-Fi Pineapple Mark V uses an OUI of LEET 001337, it's administered by us, I'll say. And then I begin the SSID with Pineapple. Okay, so it's going to say if search failed. Sometimes it crashes or it doesn't work, but I do have the results from a saved session.
Oh.
And we can see these are actually all the Pineapple 5s. And I'm like, oh, wow, maybe we should just this is a good reason why Mac Changer is actually built in, because you can just have it randomize a password on boot, or not password, randomize a MAC address on boot or a BSSID so that your uniqueness is not presented to the world. So what I found really fun about this, though, is you get this nice little table, and with a little bit of set and awk grep foo, you can plot it on a map. This is hamstermap.com. It is a very simple place where you can basically take latitude and longitude, because mind you, that's part of this. We've got, say, this guy's Pineapple, here's his MAC address, here's his network name, here's the latitude and longitude where it was last seen by war drivers, right? So take that information, plot it onto the hamster map, and now we get an awesome epic view of all of the pineapples, well, not all of the pineapples in the world, some of the Wi-Fi Pineapple Mark Vs that have been seen randomly as people drive by or war drive, which is rather interesting.
That's
because
kind of
check
creepy.
This out. Well, it's creepy, but it's fun, because look at this.
I don't want people to know where my pineapple is.
Yeah, but do you leave your pineapple on all the time?
No.
Except for Sarah. Sarah uses a pineapple at her house as her wireless access point. But we set it up to do Mac Changer, so it's not uniquely identifiable. But yeah, hey, look, this is Las Vegas.
Oh my gosh.
Wait, that's West Flamingo Road. Wait, is this the Rio?
Is that the Rio?
That's the Rio.
So it's DEF CON.
So it's DEF CON.
Those are all the ones at DEF CON.
Not all of them, but of course, you know, war drivers, DEF CON hackers, Wi-Fi Pineapple purchasers, they're all in the mix. And I just thought that was just like so cool to just plot that on there.
Wow.
Yeah, I just thought it was
So that means that this year we're going to see a whole bunch at the Bellagio? Right?
I think they moved it to Paris.
Paris, yes.
Yes, but not France. Just the Paris Hotel. It's not it.
Oh, that is funny.
Yes.
Wow.
I just thought that was fun. You should play with
hilarious.
Wiggle. There's really cool stuff that you can do with it. We'll get into more later. I want to get into doing Hangout-like stuff with open source alternatives.
Okay.
So we'll do that. But first, you know what? We should check in with Patrick and see what's coming up on your show, Tech Thing.
Tech Thing.
Tech Thing.
Hey everybody, Patrick Norton here from Tech Thing, Shannon's other show where she's going to get hands-on using the Amazon Echo to do home automation and control gadgets all around the house. I'm going to talk about memory versus processor for upgrading your system, and you know what? There's a whole bunch more, but you're only going to find it if you go to techthing.com or youtube.com/techthing.
So I really like to do Google Hangouts, like all the time. But Google Hangouts also has some issues with it. For example, like I want to do multiple people, unlimited, like more than 10 people in a video conference with me. I want to have a chat client that integrates with IRC, so I don't have to have this completely separate thing, but I want it to be integrated all into the same platform, so it's not a completely separate program. And I also don't want to have to sign up for an account with like Gmail or something like that in order to be able to use a Hangout feature. So what do I do?
Well, turns out Google Hangouts is really just based on this awesome technology called WebRTC. And there's some open source alternatives. Did I mention that this one will even allow you to record, which is huge for podcasts? Yeah, we could actually use it to podcast and then record straight to disk.
That means I wouldn't have to have like a separate hardware component to be able to press record on. Oh my gosh. So there's this thing. It's really cool. It's called Jitsi Meet. You can find it over at jitsi.org/project/Jitsi Meet. And this is basically why it comes into play. So Jitsi is coined from, I like this, it's a Bulgarian word for wires because it's helping people communicate over the wires. Isn't that cute?
Okay, but why a Bulgarian word? I mean, why not call it wires?
Because it's funny.
Because Bulgaria rocks, and you know what? Bulgaria doesn't get enough credit for how awesome it really is. I am going to retire there and jar pickles for the rest of my life. It's going to be epic. I'll see you there.
Jar pickles, huh?
Maybe beets.
Okay, beats. Interesting. Anyway, so Jitsi Meet is open source. It's a free WebRTC JavaScript application. It includes encryption in it, so it's really nice about that. And it also includes all those useful bits that I mentioned that you don't really get with Google Hangouts, which is why I've been kind of interested in getting hands-on with it. So this works via the Jitsi video bridge, which basically relays everyone's video to everyone else in a call without turning them into a composite video stream.
That's important.
Yes, it's very important.
Because that saves overhead a ton. When you can just push bits, you're like, oh, I got your bits? Okay, go over there. Your bits? Over here.
Yep, it's so cool. So a lot of different video conferencing apps, they use that composite video. So they, throw it all together, then it all gets streamed out straight. But this keeps everything separate, so you're getting everyone's video kind of at the same time. So this video, it takes a lot of bandwidth, but it doesn't take a lot of CPU usage, which is pretty nice. Now WebRTC, that's the backend for it. It's free, it's open source, it simply provides applications like Jitsi Meet and like a whole bunch of other software applications for video conferencing with RTC, which means real-time communications abilities.
Yeah, it's part of that newfangled web internet stuff with HTML5 goodnesses and stuff.
Web internet stuff. So WebRTC allows you to use your browser for browser-to-browser VoIP, for chat, for P2P file sharing. Google released this as an open source project back in 2011, which I thought was kind of interesting that Google released WebRTC. It wasn't somebody else.
It makes their products better.
It does. So yeah.
I mean, if you've used Google Drive, you've used it. If you've used Hangouts, you've used it. I mean, Dropbox uses it. There's a lot of services that use this underlying technology.
WebRTC includes components that allow the browser to access your camera and your microphone, so you can actually, use VoIP. You can set up video and audio calls. You can share your data peer-to-peer, and you can collect stats on the different sessions.
So it's kind of like,
which I assume is just to make it better.
So it's like Skype, but without having to install anything.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that you don't have to install anything.
And you don't have to open any crazy ports. You don't have to worry about NAT traversal. It just kind of works. Because it's all just built in.
So WebRTC can be disabled in Firefox, but not in Chrome. And this is the reason why I bring this up. So I was doing some research on WebRTC, and apparently back in January of this year, there was a big security flaw found in WebRTC for VPN users where it actually showed their real IP addresses, their local one, not the one that's, broadcasted out to everybody.
I see that and I actually get more concerned, not even just the VPN users. And mind you, VPN users are either, corporate customers or people that are concerned about their privacy. So they should have, legitimate concerns about their public IP address, which gives away your geolocation and all sorts of other bad things. That same thing would probably apply to Tor or the Onion router.
Probably.
So something to keep in mind.
Yeah, it is something to keep in mind. Luckily, this article did link to some content from a GitHub where you can actually test out and see if you are secure whenever you're using WebRTC. And you can check out this over at GitHub. I'll include this link as well. And you can also disable it in Firefox, but you can't disable it in Chrome, but there is an application that's called WebRTC Block, and this will work somewhat. to help you block it.
Okay, so there's
But not
some good
completely.
and bad with it, but for what we're trying to do for our purposes, I think it's going to be epic.
Yeah.
Part of this is I really wanted us to have a way to collaborate within the Hack 5 warehouse now that we're all not in basically the same room anymore. And like many other people, I'm sure you probably do this with your roommate, we IM all the time. We're like chatting
Yeah,
with
we
each
do.
other even though we're just a few offices down.
Because I'm lazy.
Yes, but having the ability to do something like a Hangout and do screen sharing.
Yeah.
Seb and I love this because it enables us to be able to code together on the Wi-Fi Pineapple and show each other like, hey, why is this thing not working or whatever have you. And so having something internally, that means that we can use it within this office and not have to go out to the internet and back in. So it
Yeah.
saves a lot of bandwidth, especially in our crippled Hack 5 warehouse bandwidth period, which
Oh,
we have
it's
now
so
finally
bad.
gotten out of. The dark ages,
I'm really
man.
excited that we finally fixed that so we can actually use programs like Jitsi now.
And now we can host stuff, which means that we'll be able to, as we're about to roll this server, invite you guys into the warehouse through the Jitsi, and then finally, like in that Hack House era when we were using things that
Oh
were
my
not
God.
even made for that kind of stuff, like embedding multiple Ustreams on a page.
old school.
I know. Now we'll be able to do that with this because it's open source and it's
Mm-hmm.
extensible and it's modular and there's plugins and it integrates with our IRC and all sorts of other cool stuff.
So
So yes, I think we've sold you on it. I think you understand why the benefits.
Yep.
We should plug right along and get going
Okay.
with our server. So we're going to build
Are
this
you
on.
installing this?
Yeah, I'm just going to install it right now.
Oh man,
So,
I hope nothing breaks.
I'm doing this through Zen Center right now, and we'll retouch on why Zen and all of that stuff with the virtualization later. But suffice it to say, and I'll full screen that for you, Paul. And that did not full screen so well. Let's say scale and then full screen. There we go.
Haha.
Hope that looks a little bit better for you guys. Sorry about the white taco backgrounds. That's weird. But now we can start the process of setting up our Jitsi server. You
Okay.
want to make sure that you have a static IP address if you're making this public. Otherwise, you could go dynamic if you're using it internally, but keep in mind that that could change. And essentially, it's really just a matter of adding the Jitsi repo into your apt sources if you're on Debian, or in this case, Ubuntu. And then we just do a little apt-get install foo. So here we go.
Oh.
I'm going to go ahead and switch to root and edit my sources. So that's an etc apt sources.list. I'm going to scroll to the very bottom and add deb download.jitsi.org/nightly/deb space unstable slash. There we go. Save that guy. And then I'm going to go ahead and need to install the Jitsi key so all of this will work, which is good. So wget, I'm going to bring that over here. Whoops. Wget.
So why are you doing the
TACQO.
unstable one?
I'm doing the nightly because I get the latest and greatest version. This is one of those things where, yes, we're going to put it production, we're going to make it live, but
Yeah.
we have the understanding that we can totally break everything here, and that's fine.
Okay.
Because what's one of the wonderful things about having 63 IP addresses is we can do stuff like that, and it won't matter. So,
That works.
we'll go with the latest and greatest scary version. In worst case, we send a VM flaming. Oh well. All right, so let's get the key here from download.jitsi.org, nightly, deb, unstable, and it's the archive.key. And we're going to go ahead and pass that to apt key add tap.
Type. Woo!
Yes! It's missing stuff. Missing stuff. Right, that's what it's missing. I'm telling it that this right here, that tack,
Yeah.
corresponds to the tack at the end, so it knows what it's actually passing. So it's what it's doing here is
Oh.
it's wget is downloading that file and then passing that file into apt key using the pipe, and that
Gotcha.
dash is just a little thing like standard in and out. It's good stuff. So really at this point it's just a matter of, apt-get update since we added that deb and then install. So apt-get update.
It's my favorite command ever, except when it takes forever.
Now that we've got 600 megabits, it's not bad. And apt-get tac-y install jitsi tac meet. And Jitsi Meet is its own thing. Jitsi Meet is the WebRTC, pretty like a Google Hangouts-like thing, as opposed to Jitsi Video Bridge, which is one of the underlying components of it. But you know, you can, if you go over to Jitsi, don't get confused. There's like they have a bunch of other awesome SIP-related stuff, XMPP-related stuff. If you want to roll your own peer-to-peer communications, intranet, good stuff, this is really the place. I love these guys. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to call this Hangout. And okay, I hope Jitsi doesn't get upset here, but I like the term Hangout. I think the term
works.
meet is like conference and it's too corporate, and especially
Meat
not for what
sounds
we're trying to
like
do here.
steak.
Yeah, I know,
Steak.
which is really weird because we say it's a pleasure to meet you,
Hello.
but we don't give
It's a
each.
pleasure to
I
hang
should
out.
be, but I should be passing
hang
you like
out.
salami. You know, I should be like, I should have some meat in my hand. I should be like, it's a pleasure. We should.
Thank you so much for this sandwich.
Yes, there should be an RFC for this, for the meat exchange. Okay, so we're going to call it Hangout. I don't want to confuse it with Google stuff, but I do feel like what we're doing here is appropriate because I don't want to call it conference.hack5 because people think we're putting on a conference, and that's not what we do.
Okay.
So we're going to go with a self-signed certificate. And this is going to throw errors on most browsers, but you will be able to add an exception. It's no big deal. Otherwise, if we have a certificate, we can go ahead and install that. And that's something that we're going to be doing when
That's
we put
cool.
this into production.
I like that it lets you do that.
It makes it easy. And this is
Yeah.
using Nginx on the background, in the back end rather than using Apache. So if you're, you know, I think you can replace which one you use.
Okay.
It's a web server. They serve webs.
Would you like some webs today?
No, I want some meat.
Here, have some webs. With a side of sandwiches.
Yes. Sandwiches. Sandwiches over IP. This needs to happen. All right. So the other thing that I like to do, I mentioned that it was Nginx. That's running in /usr share Nginx. Oops. And I'm going to go ahead and pop out of this and hit this up on its local IP, which would be 10.73.31.122, I want to say. Yes, and this is welcome to
Aha,
Nginx.
cool.
That's not really that exciting. So what I'm going to do is wget i.imgur.com/3yptmuq.jpg. Please, you know, feel free to do this at home. And then I'm going to move it to, and I'm going to nano my index because, whoops. I need to move it to the HTML folder. So this HTML folder here contains all the good stuff for our, contains all the good stuff on our web server. And you'll notice that there's not much here. And that's because this is what you would get to if you're not coming from the right domain. So I'm going to change this, get rid of all of that, and just say save that out, and now I'm going to go back over to our browser and refresh the page. Boom, there we go.
It's
okay.
a Kirby!
That's very important because we don't necessarily need everybody to know that we're running Nginx or anything like that. It's a little bit of obfuscation. I always like to do it, and also it's my cat, so I should be allowed to do it.
You and your Kirby.
Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do here is we need to make sure that our host name is correct. And you'll notice that my prompt says root at Ubuntu. The name of this server is just Ubuntu. It's the default when you set up an Ubuntu server. And if I type host name, it should tell me the same thing. So let's real quick edit that. It's in etc hostname. And just replace it with, in this case, Hangout.
Ah.
Great. And then we also need to set up our FQDN, or our fully qualified domain name host thingy good
yes.
stuff. And this is so that you will actually be
I
able
just
to.
learned about those
Yeah.
with my Wireshark segments.
There you go. See how it all just builds on top of each other?
Yeah.
We're going to set this up so that people on the interwebs are actually going to be able to hit it up when it hits, like when we do all of our port forwarding and make it public, right? So in that case, I'm going to edit the file under etc and hosts. And we basically just want to change this to say something like hangout.hack5.org. That's where this is going to reside.
So that's where people will go from the public.
Yep.
Okay.
And that one will be Hangout. Great. And with that all set up, we basically, all we have to do is restart the name services. So that is just a matter of doing service, host name, restart. Service, host name, restart. Stop, unknown instance. Very confusing. Not sure. That's weird. Let's just move on because this isn't going to matter in a hot second because I actually prepped the turkey, as it were. I should point out that this is actually live right now on a separate server, and the reason being is because I've port forwarded the good ports over at TCP 80 and 443. Those are going to allow your HTTP and your HTTPS to go through, and that's good stuff. And then the other big thing about Jitsi is that you're going to need to open up UDP ports 10,000 through 20,000. So
Okay.
yes, just go ahead and open up 10,000 ports on your firewall and everything will be golden. And at this point, we should have it configured. So what I'm going to do now is essentially I've followed these same steps except with the proper IP addresses on another server. So I'm going to shut that one down and start this guy up. That's already set up. And there we go. Hooray! And you'll see if I do host name, I get Hangout. And if I do host name TAC F, I'll get the fully qualified domain name, which is hangout.hack5.org. And that's actually set up. If you're testing it internally, one of the things that you can do is in Windows, if you're using Windows or any other operating system, it's very similar. You would open up a administrative command prompt in Windows and go to drivers and then etc, and you can use Notepad to edit hosts. And you'll notice this is a very similar file to the other one. And I can actually enter in any IP address here, like I was working on fuzzpig earlier. And so I made fuzzpig always go
Fuzzpig?
to 1030. Yeah, when
Where do you
work.
get these names?
I don't know, but if I ping fuzzpig.hack5.org, it's going to resolve to 1073.31.133, which is internal to our network here.
Yeah.
It's just a nice way to do some testing. So if you're just rolling something out locally, you do have to have your fully qualified domain name match what Nginx is going to be expecting to see, because otherwise you're just going to see a picture of my cat. And that's not the worst thing in the world, but you probably want to do some video conferencing. So finally, with all of that set up, there's really nothing more to do. Once we have it installed on our server, now it's just a matter of going over to hangout.hack5.org, and you'll see that the first thing it does is forwards over to the HTTPS. And
We
we
were
can,
expecting that.
yeah, and we can check out the certificate and see that it's actually self-issued. So this is exactly what I was talking about. When we first did that setup, it asked us, hey, if you actually have a real certificate, because we want to pay money to those people that sell us certificates so that we can say we're legit, then otherwise you can add an exception, and that's what we're going to have to do.
Okay.
So it's just a matter of hitting advance and then saying proceed to hangout.hack5.org. And there we go. And I've already
Cool.
customized this just a bit. Normally get like a little Jitsi logo and stuff. And the reason that I have is because this is so rad that we can. We can actually, there's
pretty
a lot
awesome.
of, it's all just HTML and JavaScript and stuff, so it's really easy to configure. You'll find an interface_configure.javascript that you can just toss in your logo and stuff. But basically we enter in a name. So if you want to do this as well, join me on this.
Okay.
And
So I go to Hangouts or Hangout.
it's hangout.hack5.org. And then basically enter in a room name when you get there. I'm going to go to the room name Hack5 and hit go.
Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing.
And my camera,
So it wants to allow my camera and microphone. Let's say
Right.
allow.
and so you'll see in
Oh, it's me.
you'll see in the top right, it asks you if you want to allow access, and you can choose which microphone to use and which camera to use. My camera's disabled right now, so it's
Okay.
not actually going to show my video. But you can see, like, as I talk, it's lighting up there, and that's me, and I can see you. And
Hi.
I've changed the names to like Random Hacker. You can even hit the chat over here and be like, hello. Name myself Darren, and join the chat and say, what's up?
Yo.
And
Cool, it totally works.
Yeah, okay, so there we go. So there's still some bugs to work out, but
Yeah.
essentially, Paul and I were doing this earlier, and it was really fantastic. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there because this is pretty easy to get set up and configured and
This is cool.
working, and then instantly, like, boom, that was it. I mean, that was like, you know, in 10 minutes, you could have your own little Jitsi server running up in your office, and then you don't have to use Google Hangouts and stuff and waste all the external bandwidth. You can just do it local. And in this case, you could probably, I don't know, by the time this airs, it'll probably still be up. You can hammer on it, hammer away. It's going to be at hangout.hack5.org.
That's awesome.
And if we actually take a look at the CPU, we're doing one of the calls right now, and I can come over to my Zen Center and run top, and you'll see that I'm using barely any RAM. I'm using barely any
But your
CPU.
camera's off.
Well, yeah, well that's because my camera is broken on my laptop, but that's a me thing. So anyway, it's cross-platform, it's good stuff. It works in Chrome, Chromium. If you are using Firefox, you're going to have to use the nightly build. It works in build 39 and higher, so hopefully that will become the mainstream branch soon. There's a little bit of a difference of opinion, I guess, between the Firefox team and how WebRTC should be implemented in a couple of fun, interesting ways, and I'm sure it has nothing to do with it being a Google technology or anything like that. But essentially, if you use the nightly or even Opera, so you know what, Opera gets some love today. It's a pretty fantastic way to do a little bit of collaboration. We'll touch on this more later as we dive deeper into it and as we integrate it better into our network here at Hack5.
This is pretty awesome.
I just can't wait to see, like, you know, Squeegee and everybody like pop in and be like, hey, what's up?
I'm
Tom
curious
B.
what your plans are for this.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Let us know what you think in the comments or hit us up feedback at hack5.org. Let us know if you want to see more of this stuff because we can dive deeper into setting up, say, the plugins for screen sharing and all sorts of other good stuff. But with that, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, it's trivia. Doesn't matter if you're a fan of WebRTC or ActiveX. When you need a website and a domain name, you're going to want to get it online as fast as possible. You got that killer idea, let's take it to fruition, and you can do it the same way we do. Shannon and I, huge fans of domain.com, not just because they've been sponsoring Hack5 for years, but because they are a fun place to do business. They're affordable, they're reliable, they're easy to use. Mostly you can tweet them at domain.com and see why. It's such a great group of folks over there. I said folks, that's right, they're folks. And these folks want to hook you guys up, so check this out. Use the coupon code HAK5 at checkout and get yourself an additional 15% off. So when you think domain names, think domain.com.
It is now time for the trivia question of the week. Last week's trivia question was the sampling rate, aka how many samples per second, are stored for a CD is what? And the answer was 44.1 kilohertz. There you go. Now this week's trivia question is, what was the first ARPANET message that was sent? And you can answer that over at hak5.org/trivia for your chance to win some awesome Hack5 goodies.
That just about wraps up this week's episode of Hack5, but before we get going, we wanted to thank you immensely for all of your support over at hakshop.com and over on Shannon's show with Patrick doing the tech thing and the Patreons and just the awesome, epic ways that we can make this thing all work. We want to keep it a community-driven experience.
Yes.
We're going to be doing a lot more community stuff here real soon. I think there might be a camp in our future, but we're still planning it.
I'm really looking forward to the training. That's going to be fun.
I was not going to mention the training considering it's already sold out, so sorry you missed out on that. No, hopefully we'll have some more dates here soon. So yeah, that's really something that we've been meaning to do for the longest time, and super fun. We're putting together some really epic stuff with Evil Server too.
Really excited.
Yeah, as far as like the storyline, it's like, dude, story-driven training, what?
It's pretty awesome. And of course, if you guys have questions, concerns, feedback, you can always email us feedback at hack5.org. We do read them all, even though we don't have time to answer them all.
Yes, and as long as you're over at Hack5, you can go to hack5.org/follow and find all the places where you can find us on the social networks and tweet at Shannon about her purple hair. You can also,
nice things.
You can also tweet at her and say, yes, put a Bafang BBS02 system in your new bike because these things are epic. I'm thinking you need a 750 watt unit. Oh yeah, mid-drive baby.
Are we gonna hack my bike?
I think we should. I really want to. I really want to. I like electric bikes.
Let me ride it some before you guys decide to break it.
Yeah, come at the bike party. Anyway, It's gonna be fun.
All right, cool.
Cool. With all of that said, thanks for putting up with our server builds, or hey, maybe that's your thing. So feedback@hack5.org, or just leave a little comment, and we will see you next week. I know that we've got Stina on, and we're talking about crazy, like, futuristic privacy stuff, and we got other good stuff in the works.
Something else, yeah. We'll see if it doesn't break.
Distributed.
Social.
Yes.
Yeah.
Distributed. Decentralized. That's the word I was looking for. Until then, I'm Darren Kitchen.
I'm Shannon Morse.
We're reminding you to trust your technolust.
Arigato.
Yes, sir.
He's totally in my shot with his hat. Oh my gosh, that is so cool.
I know.
So now if I go there, I'll knock on the front door and be like, hi,
Yeah.
you have pineapples?
Yeah. Maybe somebody took one home or something. This is like in a school district too. I don't think this is an industrial park. Like here, let me Google Street. Oh, they don't have Street View. Oh, bummer. Well, anyway. Oh, satellite.